Welcome to Boom Hall, folks. It's a beautiful day, and the reason why you're seeing this big tree in the background is because this tree here is over 450 years old. Now, on the visit list, Boom Hall fares very badly, terrible, or average. But people that come to visit very often don't know the history and don't know the haunted history. And this particular tree has a ghost story attached to it. And it goes back as far as the time the Navy had taken over this house. Now, the people of the Navy would be brave people, but they were very often huddled into one room, because they have seen apparitions on the hallway, slamming doors and things like that. But one lady officer was on the way home one night from the barracks, and she passed this tree and seen the apparition of a grey lady. Now, that lady is supposed to be I'll tell you in a minute. But it's supposed to be the wife of Captain Browning, who was the captain of a ship called the Mountjoy. And he was injured and later died of his injuries during the siege of Derry. It is said that his wife is very often used to stand on this tree looking out for her husband, and even in death she still does that. So here's a view of the foil itself. And this is the tree. Notice how it branches off into two. And the reason why I know that we've come across the right tree, some people don't know which tree it is, but I actually have it in a book here. If I can get the page, folks. There it is. There is. I'm going to turn the camera around. Right. There's the tree. And you can see the shape of it. You just look at the shape of it the whole way up. And look at this picture. It's exactly the same. What it says here, Ghost of Lady Jane, wife of Robert Browning, captain of the Mountjoy, who was killed on his ship during the siege of Derry, is said to stand beneath this oak tree waiting for her husband. So that is one of the stories, and you've got to admit that when you look at this picture and you look at this tree, it's exactly the same. So that is one of the stories. There is, I'll just put my book back here. We have some information over here. I'll just briefly glance on this. You can pause the video if you want to read it. Otherwise, I will leave a photograph of the information at the end of the video. But there was another story. There was a girl who was a relative of the family that lived here, living over in England. Now, they had an employee, a young man who had grown very fond of the daughter of the house over in England, and she was sent over here to keep her away from the young man. Now, love as the way it is, he followed her to here, They got caught. They used to hide out in the barns, which you've seen in the beginning of the video. They used to hide out in the barn, and one day they got caught, and she was banished to her room, and she was locked in her bedroom. At some stage, the bedroom went on fire, and the door was locked. The door, they couldn't get in. When they eventually got in, through the ashes, they could not find the remains of the girl, and she is supposed to haunt the grounds as well. So there you have it. But the name Boom Hall comes from the name of there was a boom, a wooden boom, put across the River Foyle, which is behind you there. And that boom was to stop ships coming into Derry with supplies of food. At the time of the siege of Derry, I mean, like, people were starving, trapped inside those walls. I was in a museum recently where I seen a price list of food, and on that price list was actually dogs, cats and rats, and that's how bad things were, you know. But the last person to live here was a woman called Miss McDavitt. She was a part-time teacher. She had been retired as a teacher, and she used to teach part-time in the local school, and I can't remember what the name of the school was again, but Blackthorn College or something like that. But she used to live in the house. The McDowd family eventually bought the house, but she was the last person to live there, and at the time she was only living in some of the house. The rest of the house was just left unrepaired, and to be honest with you, she couldn't keep the house. She couldn't keep up with the maintenance of such a large house, you know. So it is now owned by Derry City Council. There was plans to use it for the public, to create jobs and have have it used for public, but and there was talk about it way back in even 2015. We're into 2018, and this house is still caged up, and it's still nothing has been done to it. There's trees growing on the top of the walls, and there's a lot of damage done there, like so. But an awful lot of history. And then there was in a couple of years ago, there was two paranormal investigators, or ghost hunters as they were called on the news reports, got through these gates, through these fences, and climbed up into this house. And the two of them got into trouble because they couldn't get back out of the house. So the fire brigade was called, and they were eventually rescued. There is steel doors on the actual house, and the key holder was found, and they were let out and that. But you know, it just goes to show, folks, you know, when you're out exploring or investigating, like, you know, just you know, what do you call it, don't do stupid stuff, like. But oh yeah, the ghost of Captain Browning is often said to be seen on the banks of the river during a misty morning. So, and then there was other stories of the road to the house itself being haunted. The gatehouse, the original gatehouse, it was supposed to be haunted as well. So there's an awful lot of stories. I could go on and on about all the stories, but this is one place where would-be investigators come down on Halloween night with their ghost apps and go looking for ghosts. Now, I'm not a fan of ghost apps. It's basically using software in a piece of hardware that doesn't have the sensors, it doesn't have the hardware to do what it claims to do. And then when you see the names of some of these apps, you know, ghost finders or ghost finder apps or ghost apps, you know, it's claiming it's seeing ghosts. None of our paranormal equipment claims to capture ghosts, because we're capturing elements of the paranormal that have to be explained by other pieces of equipment, you know. So that's why I don't like apps. But people come out down here on Halloween night and have their fun and whatever, you know. But it is hopefully in the future this house will be saved. It went through a number of different hands. It's very hard to see through the trees, but this is facing the river. It's gone through a number of hands over the years, and eventually I read in a report that it had been the furniture had been stolen out of it. It had been vandalised. It was used as a drinking den. It eventually went on fire, and that's what has it to the state it is in today, you know. But here's a bit of the view in front of me here. But I did do a piece on this house before, but you know, I didn't have too much of the history involved in that video, you know. So I thought I'd do another one, and it is a nice day, you know. Much of the land now that has belonged to the house is actually a public park. So, and the house itself now belongs to Derry City Council, you know. But it is going to take an awful lot of money to do the work that's required to this house, you know. I'm tripping over things. This is my third attempt. This is my third attempt to document this, and it's taken me hours and hours just to film this. Last night and another night, I came down here with the intentions of filming this, and I got some clips, and then I had catastrophic drainage of batteries. Some say that it's linked to the paranormal. I don't know, but I've already lost one bar already. But I went home and my files wouldn't open either. Like, so I just don't know. But there is an awful lot of history here. There was a photographer down here photographing one night, and when he took a photograph of the front of the building and he took a closer look, he could see a face in one of the windows. Now, one of the stories is there is supposed to be a lady at the top of the stairs that used to look out the window. Used to stand and stare out the window. Now, the picture shows this face in the window. The thing about it is, the inside of this building is just pure shell. There's no floors, there's nothing, and that. So that was a bit of a mystery. And the photograph was published in one of the local newspapers. There was another story about some teenagers that came down here and claimed to seen a ghost. And I thought it was a modern story, but it went back to when the gatehouse was original, or a house close to the stable yard, and it was a bunch of girls who was down here and claimed to seen paranormal activity, a ghost, and they came up to the house and knocked on the door because they were terrified. So there is umpteen different stories about this area, you know. But here is the other side of it. Last night when I was down here doing my footage that failed, I was stung to pieces with nettles. So, that is it. There's a basement and everything. It would have been a great place to have a look around in way back in the day, you know. Hopefully someday it will be saved, you know. But the area around, it's surrounded by a lot of very old trees, and according to the book, this tree, which is supposed to be the haunted tree, is over 450 years old, you know. So this tree's seen a lot. I'll stand up against the tree and show you in perspective how big this tree is. It's absolutely huge, you know. But there is another view of the house. It's like the Wild West. Those rolling bushes that you see in the Wild West films. It's just a lump of grass and a ball, but it's quite similar to those bushes you see in the Wild West, like. It's travelling, it's going, it's keep going. It's stuck, it's gone. It's stuck in the grass. Not beautiful, and all these horses and everything. But I'm going to leave it for now, folks. and I will see you in the next video. And quite possibly I'll come down here at night time. That'll be another video. So until the next time, folks, be good to each other.